Well, thank you for taking time to tune in to the video today. This morning we spoke a message in a church that I was invited to, and it's a church that's very unique. This church is far off in the woods as far as you can get. This church had no power, but we had the power of God. They've been using a generator for 25 years. Can you imagine a man being faithful to bring a generator for such a long period of time? It's amazing. The minister there asked me to do the message, and I didn't have no warning at all, but I had been studying in Joshua chapter 1 about where Moses had died, and God was speaking to Joshua and was telling him to get prepared and get ready to lead the people. God had declared a certain area of where the people was going to live, and needless to say, Joshua heard the Lord. And there was one place in here where it says that be strong and of good courage. And then he talked about being courageous. I think it mentioned that word courageous like 3 times total, all the way down to verse number 9. The Lord told him he would be with him, that he would have nothing to fear. And then I went over to John chapter 15, and we all know the story about John 15, where Jesus was telling a few of his disciples, about the vine and how that God was the vine. I am the vine, ye are the branches. And I read that all the way down, and I want to think that I had got as far down as verse 8. I want to read to you verse 8. Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit, so shall ye be my disciples. Herein is my Father glorified. I was telling them how that the branches had to be in the vine. And the branches, if the branches wasn't in the vine, then the branches basically would have no chance of growth. I made it very plain and very simple that people needed the Lord. People needed Jesus. And not every branch is going to maintain life because it's being pruned to grow more fruit. We learned that in this chapter 15 here. Every branch that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. I was very open to the people this morning. I just shared my heart the best I could with the short notice that I had. The Bible says to be instant in season and out of season. And so sometimes when you go to a place and you expect that there might be words you can say, you just depend on the Lord to get you through it. You don't go in there with no preconceived notion. I had already studied all of the lesson. I would give you a little bit of an assignment if I could. Go back and read Joshua chapter 1, and then go into reading in chapter 15 of John and see how the two somewhat tie together. Joshua was faithful, and God was willing to reward Joshua for his faithfulness. He was going to treat him just like God treated Moses. And, you know, even in John 15, where it says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. See, God knew that he was going to end up weaning some of them branches that wasn't too good. That's what the Lord wants to do, even to the Christians today, is to prune the branch so that it will bring forth more fruit. What are you going to do when you stand before the Lord and there's no fruit in your hands? God gave us a message to remind the people that we need fruit in our hands. You know, it's one thing to know, it's another thing to do. I just thought I would come out and bring you a little word of encouragement tonight. Thank y'all for listening.